thank you so much, Anna and everyone who's here. I really, really appreciate your support. As you can see here, this is where I grew up. I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, which is just a little bit north of the border. So to say the least, I was very, very influenced by American culture. So it's actually very close to Lake Winnipeg there too. So I had a lot of opportunities to do a lot of exploring, and I really enjoyed that a lot. Living there, it is brutally cold. And it wasn't unusual for us to experience 40 below weather. But this was a particularly bad snowstorm. It was March 4th, 1966. It was the only day that we got off school in the whole 12 years. Yeah, I mean, they expected you to show up for school. Not only that, but girls had to wear dresses in school. So we used to have to wear pants to walk to school and then take them off while you're in class. So the snow was so high that it was actually up to where you could actually climb onto the roof of the school. And that's what kids were doing. They were jumping off the school roof. But not only that, we spent an awful lot of time outside. So we created forts and we created all kinds of things like a toboggan slide. We pretty much, any opportunity we had, we were outside. And even in spite of the tremendous cold. Come on, clicker. So these are, what's that? I skipped one? Okay. Oh, okay. So I have 3 brothers. I'm the oldest. My brothers and I are very, very close. When we were young, we used to ride our bikes out into the bush. And we used to go do a lot of exploring. And the custom back then was that when you had trash and stuff like that, you took it to the bush and dumped it there somewhere. So what we did was we went over down these little roads and stuff and found old cars and old bottles and things like that. And that was kind of fun. We used to find also old abandoned houses, and that was really exciting too. I'm still really close with them, and we still do a lot of exploring together. My mother was an elementary school teacher. She was very gifted at art herself. She didn't do much while we were growing up, but she kept on painting and was attending art classes even into her 90s. Yeah, and she did an enormous amount of work. My father was always attracted to radio. And back then, when he was growing up, it was radio theater and a lot of these old radio programs like The Whistler and things like that. He always wanted to get into radio, and so he actually did. He he worked for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And so I was kind of exposed to entertainment and media even back then. He used to take me to the studio where they actually did the TV programs. And so I had that experience as well. And these were my early influences. I was born in 1953, and TV was just starting to be something that was huge. Every house had a TV. And people used to actually gather around the TV. I remember going to my grandmother's house for dinner, and then afterwards we would go and watch Ed Sullivan Show. You know? And it was just something you did. You'd watch Bonanza together. I used to watch a lot of cartoons because I loved them. I loved Bugs Bunny cartoons and Mickey Mouse. We always would watch Disney too. That was another Sunday kind of thing that we would do. And so programs were very much, I love things like My Friend Flicka and Fury. Yeah, so there were things that I really, really enjoyed. My other early influence was advertising. In the 1950s, I mean, there was so much of a drive for consumer products. Everyone wanted to have the soft drinks, you wanted to have cake mixes, all these things that were prepackaged. And so I was exposed to a lot of that. All those things that make life more convenient was kind of what the drive was for. And I loved these cars that had the big giant fins on them. Yeah, I mean, they seem kind of silly nowadays, but yeah, I mean, that was a big deal thing when the new car came out. Yeah, everybody wanted to see the new car. And isn't that incredibly wrong? I mean, yeah, unbelievable. But there was no rules, it seemed like. I mean, they would have doctors holding up cigarettes saying that this is the way I calm down. You know, things like that. And these are the books that I like to read. I read every single Nancy Drew book. I also read every single Hardy Boys book. I love this series. I used to copy his artwork, Sam Sabat. He did some also some novels too, and I read those. I love Smokey the Cowhorse. That was one of my favorite books. I like these Island of Adventure ones. And I read all the series of the Black Stallion. And I love Donald Duck adventure stories. Those were great. I got Uncle Scrooge and the nephews. Oh, love those. And I liked Western Horseman because I wanted to learn how to take care of a horse. And my favorite movie was Wizard of Oz, and it still is. I had an obsession with horses, even right from the beginning. I just love them. But we lived in the city, and my parents thought, well, you'll just grow out of it. So anyway. There it goes. So humble beginnings. These are my drawings when I was a little kid. These were, all of them pretty much, these ones here were done when I was 6 and younger. And anyway, I also really like to do books. So that's kind of going back to the comic book kind of idea. And I made all kinds of these. They were usually in series too. Like I did a whole series of the Billy Calf one, and then Sarah and the Sahara. And Sarah, she was a hamster. Yeah, and that's the Lion and the Unicorn fighting for the crown. And I don't know if you know the significance of that. That was actually in the Alice in the Looking Through the Looking Glass. It was in there. So, and then it's actually the lion represents England and the unicorn represents Scotland. So there's kind of a political thing going on. Of course, when I was a little kid, I had no idea. And so this would be when I was in grade school, like probably like 3rd grade up to about maybe 15, something around there. So lots of horse stuff. I drew horses all the time. And I used to draw even in school and in class. Every opportunity, I always was drawing. I would draw my hand. I would draw the people in the room, you know, everything. So these are my first oil paintings. I started doing oil paintings when I was 16, and my parents really encouraged me. So did my other family members. So my grandmother commissioned me to do the Blue Boy and the Pink Lady. And so I did that for her, and the elk over there, which I believe is a Robert Bateman that I copied. I did that for my parents. They paid me to do that one. So and this is my favorite place in the whole world. It's Patricia Beach. It's a place that we used to go to all the time when I was a little kid. And I love that place. So times were changing. And I turned 17 when all this stuff was happening. It was kind of a crazy time because it was the Vietnam War was happening. And because I was so close to the border, we had hundreds, maybe 1,000 young guys coming across the border who were avoiding the draft. And a girlfriend of mine, she was working in a church basement where they were providing food for the homeless. And of course, these guys were homeless. Anyways, it was just an amazing time to see all these really cool young guys. For a girl who was 17 years old, it was pretty awesome. Anyway, I was very influenced by albums, music albums. They're gorgeous. I mean, this one was Cream, and all my friends were getting all these albums, and so I was looking at the covers, and I just loved them. Jimi Hendrix, I love the Yes covers, Grateful Dead. They were wonderful. I also just was enchanted with all the colors of the pop art. I loved all the Art Nouveau type of artwork too, which was, you would see those in all the posters too. Some of the kind of psychedelic posters, they would sort of be copying that sort of Art Nouveau style. And so this was the way my art showed up, was influenced. So I started getting into these really kind of weird conceptual kind of things then. And so that one you can obviously see that I was copying Art Nouveau piece. But during this time, I finished high school, and I had the opportunity, actually I applied for a condensed sort of advanced class of graphic design, where you would actually, they said in one semester, they would teach you everything that you needed to know so that you could get a job right away afterwards. And so I applied for it, and I actually was given a grant. They paid for it, and they also paid a stipend for me to go to it. And so I did that, and I finished that. And after that, I wanted to go and continue classes, but I wound up getting a job. And actually, the job was pretty good. So I decided to go and work for this cartoonist. This was in Toronto, and his name was Don Inman. He worked, I guess, for Disney for quite a few years, and then returned back home. And so what I was doing on it, he would actually do some of the drawings, and then I would do all the drawings that were in the inside. And these were paid for by the Canadian government. And this one here was for energy mines and resources. And it was about these super kids who are turning in all these corporations and people who are polluting, which it seems hugely ironic that it's from the Energy Mines and Resources Department. But anyway, and then that was for the Canadian Post Office. So I would do these in line drawings. It would be cross-hatching with ink to do those. During the time that I was working there, something wonderful happened. I finally got my green card, and I had applied for it 3 years beforehand, and it took me 3 years to get it. And so I decided to go across the border. And my first job was in Ann Arbor. I chose Ann Arbor actually because it was a college town, and I loved it was so exciting, and it was kind of a very fun place to be. The job that I had at Group 243, there were only 3 of us. So it was very, very small. But one of the owners, his name was Tom Monahan. He was really good friends with Domino's Pizza owner, who was Tom. It was Tom Monahan who was the owner, and it was Bob Cotman who was the friend. I wound up doing all the advertising pretty much at the beginning. So I was doing not only the headlines of the concepts, but I was doing the drawings as well. I would do the stack camera. I don't know what the real name is for it. I did the Ruby lists. I burned plates. I did everything for them. And I did loads and loads and loads of ads for them. They started to grow because at first they were only 50 stores, just a little bit over. Then they wound up expanding to over 2,000 when I finally left. They were targeting military bases and also college towns. And I found that was really fun because it was a target audience that I really understood. it gave me a chance too to do a lot of artwork. So I worked with pen and ink, I worked with watercolors and markers, and did all these illustrations for them. And that was really fun. So I really honed my skills for drawing. And I got a chance to do comics, which I love to do too. So this is actually a storyboard, and that's what you use for putting together a TV commercial. And so I was involved with doing that, coming up with the concepts, then presenting them, and then actually going to the shoots too for that, picking out the models and everything. It was very fun. So, and I produced a comic book for them too. When things started to get really corporate over at 243, and actually I just felt like I needed to leave, I wanted to pursue my dream of coming to California, because I've been thinking about it pretty much ever since I was a teenager, that I wanted to come to California. So I was working over at Ortho Chemical and Chevron in San Francisco, and I was given an opportunity to work over at Gallo. And I would earn more money, and the cost of living was a lot less. So it was hard to refuse. When I was there, I worked with Frank and Ed, and that was really kind of fun for Barnes and James. And these were all for point of purchase. And what point of purchase is, well, when you go into a grocery store or a liquor store, this would be on a display. And what the whole purpose was is impulse buying. And what you wanted to do was to catch somebody's attention. You were to create some sort of emotional reaction that would cause someone to actually buy the product. They would put these kind of displays, like this one in particular, over in the juices department. And then you would have, like, this one was a mixed drink where you'd have cranberry juice with it. So the intention is that somebody going to buy cranberry juice would see this and go, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So anyway, and it works really. I worked with Bertolli. There were lots of other brands that I worked with too, even Black Angus with their meat. One of the things that I wanted to do whenever I was doing my advertising was I really, really wanted it to look beautiful. And I didn't want it to be just a typical advertisement, just to sell stuff. I wanted it to be as beautiful as something that you would want to frame and put in your house. And there was a lot involved with this as far as composition and trying to make something that was big and bold and, and still have some integrity to it. This would be the way I would start off. I would present these kind of sketches. Actually, maybe I'll go back for a second, because one thing I was going to mention is when I first started working over at Gallo, we didn't have computers. And so a lot of this stuff was kind of just faked almost. Like this particular here thing, the background was actually the sequined thing, and we had it backed up enough so that it looked like it was all like shiny things like that. Over here, that was just a printed out background with fake flowers. So there was a lot of kind of manipulating to make something look real. This too was a photo that was in the background. But I had the chance to work with a lot of food stylists and models, and that was very fun. I enjoyed that very much. When I presented, they would pick one of these sketches, and then we would go to the actual final photo, and I would give these to them, and they would actually do the photography from that. But over here, what I did was, it was a sketch. I scanned it, and then I worked on it in Photoshop and did the shading on it. But I still had my horse obsession. And it was so wonderful because I was living in Modesto and I could actually afford to have a horse and actually have a horse. So my first horse was Prince, and that's him there. And since then, I had Oreo, which is the giant Appaloosa that was 17 hands. He was enormous. And then I had Bashad, and then this is, oh yeah, that's, his name is Bismarck. Yeah. Anyway, I was so obsessed. I actually went to Portugal to learn how to do dressage, and I went to Ireland to do cross country. And cross country was my absolute favorite thing because what you do is you gallop full speed and then jump over all these jumps, and it's just so incredibly, incredibly fun. But it's dangerous. So I don't do that anymore, but it's really, really fun. This picture here was taken early in the morning. I used to ride my horse before I went to work. So it was in the early dawn, and actually there's a picture of it's on the wall over there that it was my horse, because sometimes it was dark when I first went out to go get my horse. Then I would saddle him up and ride him and then show up at work. And it was the perfect way to start off a day. But things were changing over at Gallo. Instead of stores wanting to have all this advertising inside, they were going towards something that was called a clean store. And they didn't want all this advertising in there. They felt like it was, just, I don't know, it was too busy, and they didn't like it for their store, just the interior. So we were sort of downsizing our art department then. The other thing that happened was the whole department that I was working for was created by Ernest Gallo because he liked to micromanage everything. He didn't want anybody telling him how to sell his wine. So he wanted to be very personally active as far as picking out what was going to be presented and what wasn't. And to his credit, actually, he was incredibly good at it. So he was really a genius at marketing. But once he passed away, his children and the grandchildren had no interest in that. And so their inclination was just to outsource everything. So there was no need for our department really anymore. I mean, they had a few people in there just for doing things like sort of quick projects. But that's when they requested that I retire. And I was not expecting that. That was really kind of a shock. I kind of had hoped to work there for a bit longer so I could save up enough money so that I had enough for a good retirement. The other thing is, after doing this for so many years, I didn't know what to do with myself. Only thing I knew how to do was advertising. Mm-hmm. And I could go back to the big city and try and do that there, but I didn't really want to. So I was kind of a little bit in sort of a quandary as to what to do next. So because I love horses and because I was always interested in sort of Western stuff, I was doing some horsehair braiding and hitching. Like these are all hitched, and those ones are hitched too. The cord is hitched. I learned how to do that, and it was really fun. I was actually creating a lot of these kind of things for my friends who had horses, and it was especially nice for them to remember their horses once they passed away.
Chris, can you explain what you mean by hitching?
Oh, well. I have to almost show you. It's you actually have to have a bar, like a piece of metal, and then you wrap it around. But each time you're putting the horsehair over top of it, then winding it down underneath it, and then you do your next one. And you kind of go all the way around this bar.
Are you running through threads at the same time?
Yeah, you do that too. So yeah, you're wrapping it around the thread, then plus going around Thank you.
So is it purely decorative or is it?
No, it's
useful?
functional. Oh yeah, they used to make headstalls and bridles and all kinds of stuff from it. Yeah, some of the really nice horsehair stuff was done in penitentiaries because they had an abundance of time there. So actually some of the greatest works of horsehair hitching were done at was it Deer Lodge?
Deer Lodge, Montana.
Yeah, Deer Lodge, Montana Penitentiary. And some of that work is just worth a fortune now. They made belts, they made bridles, and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Also hat bands. They're beautiful. And I also did leather work. There was a Tandy store that was in Modesto, and so I always loved the tooling that was on Western saddles. And so I decided to learn how to do that. And I was making belts, making other kinds of little projects too. That's a wallet, and that's a luggage tag, a knife holder, a barrette that I never really finished. But this one was a dragon one that I designed. Actually, all these are my designs. I love doing the designs, but it was really, really time consuming to do the actual tooling on it. And the way you tool it is you have wet leather and you take a stamp type of tool and then you hit it. And that's how you make all the different edges and things like that are on there. So this one was a commission, that one was a commission. So yeah, I enjoyed doing that. And I also did a little bit of digital art, and I'm actually still doing digital art. I'm doing 3D stuff too now, just for the fun of it. This one is all the attributes of red wine, and it's just all words going all the way across. This one is all the attributes of white wine. That's my horse. I just played around with Photoshop and did him running across in 3 stages. Then I was in one of the art stores. It's called Artel that was in Modesto. And I saw this cover and I was just blown away. I thought, oh my gosh, I would love to be able to do that. And it was so beautifully done. I love the attitude that girl was showing. I mean, she, I guess the way I interpreted it is that her mother or somebody is telling her she has to do this. And she's sort of like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do it. But she really doesn't want to. So that's why she's got a sort of a scant type of look. But when I was at the store, I asked them, do you have pastels? Do you have the paper? And they said, oh, yeah. And then we also have a Thursday evening class. Pretty much people just bring whatever they want to work on. But there is a lady there that she's done some pastel work, and she'll help you. So I did that. One of the things about pastels is they're so historic. I had no idea that they go back to the 1700s. It's pure pigment in a binder, which is usually gum arabic, and just made with water. So they're very pure. I went to the museum, a Metropolitan Museum in New York, and saw some of these pieces, and they are just as vibrant and gorgeous today as they were when they were created, which is really amazing. I love the realistic qualities of these. I mean, they, aside from the kind of weird clothes, they could be people that you see right now. So these are my first pastels. This was the very first one that I did, and they recommended doing it on a colored surface, which I thought was kind of a great idea, so I did that. And then this one also is on a colored surface. A friend wanted me to do a portrait of their horse, and that's Cinco de Mayo. Anyway, I did that. I did this one, that's my horse. And then I did that one, which is called Fog Lifting in the Redwood, and that's the one that's out in the lobby there. So this one here took a long time for me to do. I actually worked on it for 2 years. It wasn't like I worked on it every single day or anything like that. I would actually work on it, then I put it away for a while, and then I work on it, and then put it away. So over this period of time, I finally said, okay, I'm done. And I decided to try and enter it. What the heck? This was in 2010. And during that time, people were just starting to do online entries. And I thought, well, I want to learn how to do that. So I might as well start practicing now. So I entered that in Pastel Journal. And something absolutely incredibly amazing happened. I mean, and honestly, I still can't believe it. Because what? I actually won first place. I mean, what are the odds? I mean, it was just, I still can't believe it. I mean, there were over 3,000 entries that were there. And a lot of these people have been doing landscapes forever. And this was kind of almost my first landscape that I ever done. And when they were interviewing me for the article, they were asking me all these questions like, what are your favorite pastels and what kind of paper do you like using and all stuff. And I didn't know what to say because I hadn't really worked with it that much. I only had like the most minimal set of pastels that you ever saw. I only had the basic colors pretty much. And yeah, so anyway, it was interesting. But then it was so crazy because I entered it in other shows and it was winning too. So it was kind of like this snowball effect, and it just kept growing and growing. And I started entering in more competitions, and they were doing well too, to the point where I eventually actually earned enough points to get the gold medal, which was really incredible because it's international. It was for every single country that does pastels, which is really amazing. And I think somewhere along the line, I started getting this kind of idea like, what if I'm an artist and I didn't even know about it? I mean, and that's how insecure I was. I mean, it all just seemed like a dream. So I started doing lots more portraits. And I thought, well, just doing commissioned portraits is a really good thing because it's a good way to practice. And so that's what I did. And quite a few of these actually, well, almost all of them are commissions. And I actually won some awards with some of those too. And what's supposed to happen right now is this is a little video. Okay. Okay. Anyway, thank you. These are some other commissions that I did that have done really well. This particular one is in Prescott right now at the Phippen Museum. They actually won Best of Show through the Red Rock Pastel Society, which was really incredible, and I felt very honored about that. This one was a tribute, and actually it was for the family of this man. His name is Stephen Olmsted, and he spent a lot of time. He was related actually to Olmsted, Frederick Law Olmsted. And he passed away, unfortunately. He had an accident while he was riding a bicycle. So this was for the family. I did a fundraiser with Beth Pratt. I did these as original pica pictures, and I sold the originals, plus I sold prints, cards, and also stickers. And I was able to actually get enough money to make, well, it was $1,000, and it was donated to the Wildlife Center, and they gave it to the Wallace Annenberg Wildlife Center, Wildlife Crossing. So for Los Angeles, so that's the crossing down there. So those are some pictures of me with Beth Pratt. I actually found it kind of fun to think of pikers as helping out mountain lions. And I design wine labels. Yeah, and I just absolutely I love doing that. And Casto Oaks and Chris Casto is so wonderful. They let me actually have a studio over at their vineyard, and I'm just so incredibly grateful. So thank you, Chris. Anyway, I enjoy doing these labels. It's so fun because Chris likes to talk about the history of this area, and I love it too. That's one of the reasons why I moved to Mariposa, was that I love the history here. It's just so rich. So, and I find it very fun to actually use that for my inspiration for doing the labels. And I do workshops because I don't get the opportunity to do very many locally here. I've been doing a lot that are Zoom. And it's been actually working out pretty well. I've done Zoom ones, especially for pastel societies that are very far away, like Australia and New Zealand. And just recently I was doing a pastel mentorship with someone that lives in England. And so that's been very fun. And these ones here, this was in Turlock, that one was in Modesto. I've also put together a video series that's day-to-day, an exercise for developing your drawing habits. And there's just some images of me teaching. I also like doing sketchbooks, and I really feel like sketchbooks are just the ticket for building up your art skills. It's not only that, though, it's actually such a wonderful way to be in a place and being quiet and still and just enjoying and looking at things and observing. So I really am a strong advocate of sketchbooks. And I'm going to be teaching a sketchbook workshop in June for the paint out that's going to be occurring. So it's June 6th to 7th, 8th, something like that. But I've got some postcards about that. So I'm going to be doing the Art Wine Wheels. So that's going to be really exciting and fun. And that's May 24th at the courthouse. And then the sketchbook workshop is going to be at the Mariposa Art Park. And you need to sign up for that. I've also got a little thing over here for signing up. And I'm going to be doing an invitational. So an invitational is pretty cool because this is where they actually invite you to show your artwork there. So that's going to be at the Phippen Museum in Prescott. So I'm really excited about that. That's all, folks.
Can you answer some questions?
Yes.
Are there
Any questions?
Are you married?
That's my husband. Yeah, it's Jeremy Obers, and he's been absolutely wonderful because he knows how difficult it is living with an artist. Yes?
You had several pictures of horses and they were on a black background.
Uh-huh.
Was it black paper or was that the pastel?
Actually, what I do is it's black paper, but it's not dark enough. So I found that even the darkest black paper isn't black enough because it's still reflecting light. So what I've had to do is, in some cases, I've actually, like on that one with the horse, that one I had to do black pastel in the background. And it was really a mess, honestly, because it kept falling down over the piece. And it was so messy and awful. So I had to find another way. I have found an acrylic that's called, it's the simple or something, blackest black in the universe. And that's what they claim to be. And it is pretty good because once you paint it down, it does not reflect at all. And so you can actually put the black pastel over top of it and you don't see a difference in the values. Great question. Anyone else? Yes.
I was just curious on, you said that you had never done pastels before. So how did you teach yourself to do that?
Well, they sort of showed me how when I was at that evening thing that was like every evening on Thursdays. And so they sort of gave me a little bit of a guidance, but she didn't like the pastels. She hated them. So I was a little bit on my own because I just wanted to try and figure it out. And so part of my style, I think, was just figuring it out because I didn't really have anyone teach me how to do it. And that's why when they were asking me all these questions, you know, when I was interviewed, they asked me, do you do an underpainting? It was like, what's an underpainting? I didn't know about all these techniques that people use. And I think sometimes maybe that's a good thing. It's kind of one of those weird things because when I was so insecure about winning that pastel journal that I wanted to find out from the judge why he picked my artwork. And what he told me was that it was different, that it didn't look like all the other works that had been submitted. And I think I can probably attribute that to the fact that I had absolutely no idea of what I was doing. Yeah, I mean, and then maybe there's something to that, you know? There's a certain spontaneity that happens. Yeah. Yes.
Chris, how do you preserve them?
Oh, well, I don't spray. I don't do a fixative on them at all because I found that what happens is it actually makes the colors flatten out and it just loses all its vibrance. So what I do is I put them under glass. And I use a spacer in between as well. There are some pastel artists who actually take the glass and smash it up against it and then tape the edges. And there's a lot of people who actually do that. But there's a risk if you do that. If the glass breaks, then you pretty much trashed your artwork. I've actually had, when I sent the first pastel piece that I sent out actually was damaged and the glass was broken on it. But the crazy part was the artwork was completely safe. I mean, it didn't get damaged at all. I couldn't believe it. So, yeah, so I don't recommend doing that approach. But that's what I do. Anyone else?
Do you shake off the dust?
Yeah.
And how do you get this amazing amount of detail?
I use pencils. There's pastel pencils too. Now, the pastel pencils are a little bit harder than the actual soft pastels, and that can be a problem because you do not get the really, really dark darks and white whites. So what I generally will do is I'll put them in, and then at the very, very last stage, if I need to pump it up a bit, I'll take a soft pastel and I try and get it as sharp as possible and then go over top of it. Because the other thing about using the pencils is that they don't get real thick. So it's pretty easy to actually add layers over top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do.
And what kind of paper?
It's sanded, so it has a grip to it. And most of the papers that I use are already done. You can actually do all kinds of things to kind of create a surface too. Some people actually just use the surface that's on a paper that's very woven, like a watercolor paper too, and you can use that too. I personally like the sanded paper a lot. Actually, when I was first starting to do pastels, I was using sandpaper that you'd buy at the hardware store. But the bad part about it is, boy, they never eat up your pastels. Yeah, so it works. I mean, and if you're just practicing and you don't care, you know, that actually is a good way for kind of starting out too. Anyone else? Yes. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Christine. That was such a wonderful presentation because you could see how a child with, you know, their childish ambitions have feelings about things and start out at a spot, and it just grows and grows as they see things and they include them. That was just beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Anyone else? Yes.
I'm just curious about your daily practice as an artist. If you could tell us just a little bit about what a day in the life of your studio is.
My husband is rolling his eyes right now. But actually, recently it's been not so great because I've been working on this. But normally my schedule is that I work out in the morning on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then the whole afternoon into the evening, if necessary, I work on my artwork. On Wednesdays, I try and do a full day of working on my art. And then Thursday, the same. And then Friday, I work out in the morning, and then I do my artwork in the afternoon. And Saturday is kind of similar. Sunday is work on the property, splitting wood and all that stuff. Yeah. So that's my schedule. Yes.
Where are you headed next? What would you like to try? What's in your mind that you'd like to experiment?
I'm so glad you asked that because honestly, I don't know. And I feel like I'm just a work in progress. That here I am, 71 years old, but I still don't know exactly where I want to go with the artwork. I feel like I want to get into something that's maybe a little bit more conceptual, but I don't really know what that is yet. And I feel like I'm hoping that something will just pop up and it'll be, yes, this is it. So that's where I'm at. And I hear the clock ticking away and it's just so darn annoying. Yeah, so I realized too that I don't have a heck of a lot of time to figure this out. So yeah, so there is a little bit of an incentive to kind of get on the ball and do something.
Have you tried watercolor?
Yeah, I have, and I actually really liked it when I was working with it before. And some of those pieces, the Domino's Pizza ones, were with watercolor, but I don't use it too much now. I don't know why, but pastels just are so darn easy. The sticks are there, you just slap it on and it's done. So it seems like watercolors is more picky. But yeah, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with watercolors. I actually like them a lot too, but yeah, for me right now, pastels are the thing. But there's all these other mediums that I want to try out. Like one of them is silver point. And I don't know if you've heard of that, but silver point is what they used to use a long time ago, like during the Renaissance, for drawing. And basically all it is using a metal wire and you're drawing with it. So different kinds of metals actually turn different colors. And that's what Leonardo da Vinci used an awful lot, and Botticelli used, and also Albert Dürer used. And you draw with it. Well, the crazy part about it is when you start off, it looks different than the way it's going to look in a few months because the metal tarnishes. So it actually gets darker and changes colors with time. So I really want to experiment with that because it seems like that would be really fun. So there's some other mediums too that I'm kind of blanking on right now that I'd like to try too, which would be really fun.
You used to paint with wine.
Yeah, I did. And that's really fun too. Yeah. Yes?
Where do you currently market your work and how do you go about that?
Well, I found that the best place for me to do that is elsewhere, unfortunately. So I try and put my artwork out in a lot of different shows all across the country. And I found that some places are really, really receptive. Like, for example, Scottsdale, that area is really good for me. Also, I entered a piece over at Aiken in South Carolina, and that area seems to be a really good area. So I'm thinking about kind of moving out and like checking out other areas, especially across the country, Kentucky, that area too. So.
Because of the horses?
Yeah, because of the horses, and also because I almost feel embarrassed to say this, but they're more money, and people are willing to spend it on artwork. So, I mean, when I've spent time in Scottsdale, it just kind of blows me away how much people will spend on artwork. And it's a good thing, really, because, I mean, really, us artists do deserve to be paid well. It always kind of felt sort of insulting that I would pay, the plumber, something like $600. And meanwhile, somebody would say that my artwork wasn't worth $600, you know? Yeah, so I don't know. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Oh, I forgot to mention, I've got some books over here that you could take a look at. Should I actually have been mentioning the books?
Oh, no, it's okay.
Okay, and I also have some stickers, and anybody is interested in picking up a sticker, it's free tonight only. Yeah, so pick out a sticker if you like.
Thank you.